Readers, we started thinking about vocabulary last week, noticing ways that vocabulary is part of how texts get harder. I started to do more research on learning vocabulary because I wanted to I was interested in what others have said about the topic. I came across some extremely interesting things that I wanted to share with you. The first is a quote from an article called Vocabulary: 5 Common Misconceptions. I want you to listen to the quote, and then we'll think together about how it relates to what we've seen in the octopus text that we've read, in our class read aloud When Lunch Fights Back, and in our own nonfiction texts that we've been reading. Here's the quote. More than 60% of academic words have word parts, also called morphemes or roots, that always carry the same meaning. Knowing that words can be broken down into meaning units is a powerful strategy for vocabulary development. Readers, do you realize what this means? What these researchers are saying is that more than half the words you come across as your texts get harder have parts that always mean the same thing in every word they appear. So when you find a difficult word, it will pay off to look in the word, not just around it. These researchers call the word parts meaning units because each part of a word has a meaning. The fancy research word for studying the word parts of a word is morphology. Let me give you a quick example of what studying word morphology means. Let's say I'm trying to figure out the word indestructible. I'm sure many of you have seen this word before or even know it, but I want you to look in the word with me for a minute to practice this word morphology work. If I look in the word indestructible, I can see parts that I know. So look at these parts with me. Well, I know that destruct in the middle means to destroy. I know that that means to destroy. And IBLE at the end is sort of like able. It's kind of similar. And I know that this prefix in means not. So when I look at these parts and put them together, indestructible must mean not able to destroy. Do you all see that? Do you see how I looked in the word and broke it into meaning units? And these researchers are saying that that kind of work will pay off more than half the time. Interesting. I wonder if this is the case for the text we are reading in here. I thought today we could do an inquiry and delve even deeper into thinking about vocabulary. Today we will do an inquiry and ask, how often does it really pay off to push ourselves to look inside words when they are tricky? So if you look at the board, our I can statement for today and tomorrow as well, I can look inside a word when it's tricky. Let me explain how this is going to go today. Last week, we looked at sections of the octopus at all different levels. Okay, we looked at the same paragraph in level 2, level 4, and level 6. And you circled words, or we looked at words that were tricky. We talked about the word predator and how it was explained in each of those passages. Today, you're going to look at Lessons from the Deep again, but we're only going to look at level 5 today. We're still going to look at this 4th paragraph, the one that starts off, one of the most striking characteristics. You should have all received a copy of this, so make sure you have this in front of you. This time you're really going to push yourself to look in the words. That is, you're going to study the circled words. If you find a word that you don't know or that's kind of tricky, circle it. And see how much you can figure out about their meanings just from looking in them, at their parts. See if you can break them up into meaning units the way I broke up the word indestructible. Even if you can't break a whole word up and figure out all of its parts, you may be able to figure out just a part of the word and use that to help you take a guess at what the whole word means. I want to be clear that looking in words is one thing you can do, and you can still look around words. But for today, let's practice looking only in words and see how often that pays off. So, get level 5 of Lessons of the Deep in front of you. You're only going to look at that 4th paragraph today. Circle any words that you can use the strategy of looking inside them to see what they mean. Pause the video and take a couple minutes to do that. Pause the video. Okay, readers, hopefully you've looked at paragraph 4 of Lessons of the Deep and you've highlighted or circled some words that you used the strategy of looking inside them to help you figure them out. I, for example, looked at the word instantaneously. Maybe you looked at this word as well. Inside the word instantaneously, you can see the word instant. And you know that the word instant means happening right now. This morphology stuff is powerful work. Okay? Now I want to tell you something very, very important. Remember, the researchers said that knowing a word can be broken down into meaning units is a powerful strategy. It's a powerful strategy. It's not the only strategy. In fact, I actually think that if you now tried to go back and look around words, bringing all you know about this strategy of looking in words as well, you'll be able to figure out the meaning and determine meaning of words very quickly. Readers, do you see how much more power you have in tackling these tricky words when you bring all you know from looking inside the word and all you know from looking around the word? Looking inside the word and breaking it up into meaning parts or meaning units is a strategy that I don't think we use all of the time. But as you saw today, it's very powerful and it can pay off big time. This is a strategy that should always be one of the ones you have in your toolbox for dealing with tricky vocabulary. Because as you heard from the researchers, it's a big deal. You also should have gotten these charts today, figuring out the meanings of unknown words. And it gives you different strategies to do that. I'm going to send you off to read now, and I'd like you to pay special attention to tricky vocabulary as you read today. What strategies are most helpful for you? Is it one of these strategies on this paper, or is it something else? I also want to tell you that before you go off, that vocabulary directly relates to reading comprehension, or understanding what you're reading. That means the stronger you are at figuring out vocabulary and the more words you know, the stronger you will become as a reader. So take this vocabulary work very seriously. It's a big deal. Okay, head off.